Hello everyone, so we're at the Chateau Royal. I said we were going to take a look at the fabulous palace, and this is it. It's a mix of Italianate and Baroque kind of style, which I kind of tried to go for here. It is possibly one of the best residences in the game because of its fabulous ornamental garden there, and well, its scale basically, and it's very nice. It's very elegant. It's almost grander than the King's Palace. I think it is a bit grander than the King's Palace. As I said before, this is the son of the King's Palace. This is where he lives. But obviously, it's a lot grander than the King's main building. So we're just going to take a look at the garden now, because obviously I went for the Versailles style. Obviously, it's very obvious. Versailles is one of the best gardens. So I went for that here. As you can see, there's fountains everywhere, because having lots of water, having lots of fountains, to me is a symbol of wealth. So I tried to do that with this garden. What I did here, you might notice, I made the fountain big and then put 4 ones around it, and then that's just the central kind of pond it's sitting in, with some nice fishes around. And yeah, and then we're going to take a look at this fountain, which is another example. It's quite nice, and just lots of flowers. You can walk around onto the terrace part, whatever it's called, the alcove, get some shade. The court could quite easily run to this garden. And then on the ground, so this is how the ground floor works. You have these 3 apartments, one here, and one there. And these can be either home to the aristocracy or perhaps apartments for the royal children. They're not really like direct royal family members. They just live in the very expensive palace because obviously the heir to the throne lives here. So one of the spares lives here. One of the spares of the royal family lives here. So I wanted to give him quite a grand residence. This is one apartment, and I call it the apartment of the Duchess, Duke and Duchess of Parma. The Duke and Duchess of Parma being members of the aristocracy and living at the palace. I'm going to take a look at some of my custom content that I downloaded here. Pictures of Victoria. Just a nice sitting room, very grand. And then over here we have a little kitchen for the aristocrats to use to cook their food, or if they have a servant in there, they can do that. And then beyond there is the bathroom and toilet. Same on this side. Kitchen, bathroom, toilet. We have the dining room, which is right next to one of the kitchens, and a little door, servant's door. Over here we have the main bedroom, the central bedroom. If I can do it, there we go. So that's the kind of the royal, one of the aristocratic beds. I tried to go for like a sort of royal theme, if you can see it. And then we just have some nice rooms here. I've shown you the sitting room. How they enter the palace is out the front of it here. You've got the main courtyard, and then they walk through the kind of part here. Then they can turn left and walk to their apartments. If you live in that apartment, you have to cross over the garden to get to it. Series of rooms here. Downstairs we have a little kitchen and a kind of big dining room. It's more like a meeting room, but it can be a dining room. That's why I put a kitchen there. There will be eventually a whole downstairs area, like for servants' quarters. But yeah, these are just going to be apartments along here, all around, and yeah, that's basically it. Upstairs we have the royal apartments, the most interesting part of the palace. So we'll start with the Queen's because it's the most interesting to me. We have the Queen's staterooms just here. So this is the Queen's staircase, and you'd pass up there and you'd arrive at the Queen's sort of antechamber, which is a large public room where guests wait to see the Queen. And I'll just show you it. I'm doing all this with one hand, so bear with me. This is the Queen's waiting room. You can see it. Actually, I have a better idea. If I do this, 1 minute, so we can now look at it better. Sorry. Right, so this is the sitting room. As you can see the whole apartment there. But this is the first room. And we have the beautiful chandelier, fireplace with some flowers on it. And yeah, just basic really, because it's the first room, it's not really that grand. Then we have the Queen's bedchamber. As you can see, this is the Queen's bed. The palace will be much edited by sort of descendants of the royal family who live here. So, as this is the home of the Dauphin, the heir to the throne, his family that live. I'm calling it the Queen's bed, but it's not the Queen's bed. You know, it's she seems like a queen because the way she lives is like being a queen, but she's not. She's the wife of the heir to the throne. So all of this grandeur is because of their status and their position in the royal family, but they are not the king and queen. Just to reassure you, because it might get a bit confusing. So we have her bedroom. It's much inspired off of Versailles, Marie Antoinette's bedroom. As you can see, I've got a lovely custom content wall here with some beautiful designs on it. Then we move on next to, I think it's the sitting room of the Queen. Quite a nice room. Plenty of furniture. What I like to do with my palaces is make it kind of cluttered, the Victorian style, because it's kind of what I like. But as you go, just do a scan here, you can see all the things where I place them. Yeah, that's pretty much it. And the same walls. We have the Queen's throne room. I keep saying the Queen, but I don't know what else to call her, the Dauphine. We have the Dauphine's throne room. This is her throne. She has a throne. Each person who's in the royal family, whether the main members of each family, has a throne. So say for instance, the Dauphin and the Dauphine have a son, and they have their own place. They'll all have a throne room. So the son and his wife will have a throne room each. Yeah, because I like to almost make the royal family seem kind of imperial. So I like to give them an imperial feel towards it. And then we go to the next room. This is the Queen's little dining room. Picture of Marie Antoinette and her children. Just a plain sitting room, plain dining room, where she'd sit in front of the court and eat her dinner with the members of the family. There's a picture of Marie Antoinette there. I found that on the Sims resource. That's Marie Antoinette. That's her son. That's Marie Therese. That's the heir. Louis Philippe and Louis Charles, I believe. Next room. This is what this has inspired me from Versailles, because what Versailles has is the Hall of Mirrors, and then it has two separate rooms either side of it. So this is what you'd call like an ante-room. So if you were having a party in there, in the next room, in the Hall of Mirrors, well, it's not the Hall of Mirrors, but it's inspired of the Hall of Mirrors. If you're having a party or something, this is where the guests would come to sit and chat and that kind of thing, and then that's the door to the Queen's apartment. But if we go through here, we'll have a look at the most grandest room in this building, and I'll just show you it, because it took me a very long time to make. Obviously, with placing everything, but this is a very grand room in the palace, especially designed for state functions, gatherings, things like that, things of that nature. You get a good view there of the garden. If I move the chair, but anyway, you can get a good view of the garden. Mirrors in here, as you can see. Very grand room. And yes, I did make all this all myself. Yeah. Just pan back, give you a view of it. Then we'll just take a slow walk through it just to show you everything. Because obviously I'm very pleased with it. We'll enter the King's apartment round the back of it. We'll enter the King's rooms round the back of his apartment, an unusual way to enter it, because usually people who visit the court would come in through the King's staircase. but we're entering through the king's most, sort of private rooms. This is just plain. I couldn't really be asked to furnish it, but you get the gist. It's a little sort of ante-room. Yeah, okay. It's grander over that side, but well, it's going to be grand. The Queen lives there. She's the centre of... I keep calling her the Queen, the Dauphine. I'm so used to saying the Queen. This is the Dauphin. This is the man's sitting room. As you can see, it's a lot more masculine to the other apartment. That is a picture of Victoria with all of her children. It's more of a masculine photo. Lots of browns, lots of, dark colours, because I wanted to make it look like it belonged to a man. These apartments, but as you saw before, this is where he would sit and eat his dinner before the court. We go to the next room. It is the king's, the Dauphin, the Dauphin's throne room. They all have little thrones like this. It's not really that ornate compared to Versailles. Their surroundings are a lot more kind of plainer. But you get the idea. This is a person who is, royal, lives here. This is the throne. It's very basic, obviously, but as you can imagine, this isn't the home of the king, so it's not going to be that ornate. Either side is the throne. I mean, not the throne, like a little stool for maybe the son's children to sit on, and the wallpaper. Just a very nice room. Moving on to the next one, as you can see, I've used darker colours, browns, to make it seem like a man's apartment. This is king. Well, let's just call him the king, but he's not king. This is the king's sitting room. This is where he would sit with guests and talk about state, affairs. It can also be a drawing room when he has parties, things like that. It can also be a smoking room if you wanted to have a smoke, have a cigarette in here. Obviously, you can't do that in Sims, but in real life, if it was a real palace, this is where you'd sit and have cigars and drink wine, whatever, drink gin with your pals. The king also does have private rooms as well, which I'll show you in a minute, and I'll also show you the queen's private rooms. She's okay. This is his bedroom, and it's inspired by France, French royal. Designs. There's a picture of Louis XIV on the wall because I wanted to. I like to imagine, like in the game, that the creator of this royal family, or let's say the theme of the royal family in this game, is off of Louis XIV, and you'll see why because the way they dress and everything. But yeah, they're much inspired off of 17th century France. The rooms are inspired by like the 18th century, things like that. And as you can see, I've used reds and things just to make it look a bit more masculine. And I think this is our last room in the King's State apartment. This is where you'd arrive. If you came to the palace, this would be the first room you see. It's got furniture, nice furniture in it. And if you'd come in, you'd come through this door, and then head through that door to go to the king's extra rooms. This is Louis XIII on the wall, so it goes down in like numbers. So Louis XIII, and then through there Louis XIV, and so on. It's very much inspired off of French kings' royal power. This is one of the king's petits appartements du roi, or spelled R-O-I. The roi, the king. He's not the king, but, let's just say the prince, because I can't think of anything to call him. This is the prince's sitting room, and it's where he would come to be with himself. It's a lot more simpler than the rest of the rooms. It's quite basic, actually, but he gets a view into the courtyard through there. Very small. And obviously, when the descendants live in here, the prince's children, they'll all have this palace to themselves to create and, make their own. Lovely Versailles paintings I downloaded. That's called Commissioned by Kings, a nice Baroque seat, and a nice Baroque bookcase that I downloaded also. This is the king's sort of prince's sort of sitting room where he can write papers. It's his study. It's very simplistic. What you see of the king's rooms through there and what you see in here is a vast difference because, it has to be a mixture. If the prince lives around, obviously if this was real life and somebody lived around grand surroundings all the time, very gaudy rooms all the time, you'd want rooms of your own to, make your own. That's why they have a private apartment. And this is what it is. So that was the first room of it through there, and this is our second. Very basic, simplistic rooms. Through here we have his library. It has an air of grandeur to it, but it's not necessarily that grand. I think we've just crashed. I'll come back to you. Hello everyone. Back again. We did crash, but we are back. I was explaining that this is the prince's library. This is where he would come to pick a book and maybe go into his study and read, and just practice readings, write some Latin, things like that. And then this time next room, this is the very simplistic dining room of the prince. This is his own dining room because next door is the kitchen, and he can cook for himself, and he makes his food and eats it in here by himself. Because this is the king's private apartment, so this is where he lives. This is like where he lives his normal life, and then in the staterooms, that's when he's, different. This is his private kitchen, very simplistic, but obviously it's a kitchen. It's not going to be like amazing. But this is the kitchen, very simplistic. Let's see what he's made. Here's some mac and cheese. He has a dishwasher. He has nice counters. It's just a very plain kitchen, and through there is the main courtyard. Through here, I guess it's just a very basic room. There's nothing in it, because I haven't really had the chance to furnish it yet, or I just couldn't be asked. Okay, this is one of the salons. As I said again, this is like I couldn't really be asked to furnish it much, so we just put a suite in here, but this would be a salon, so eventually it's all going to be changed in here. It's going to be a bit more ornate. But this is where the aristocracy would come to sit and chat and be seen and be noticed, and occasionally, the prince might wander through here and pick out a mistress, Through here, I guess we have this grand staircase. Yeah, we do. This is I imagine it's the king's staircase. So through there is the door to the king's apartment. We've just gone round the loop, and now we're back here. You go up those stairs if you want to go to the children of the king. Their rooms are on the top floor, and then this is his grand staircase. And then obviously, if you're an aristocrat, the first way you'd go is through here, and you're in the salon, the sitting room. We go through. We have a little tiny salon here. It's just an ante-room. It's not a salon. This is just where you'd come to sit and maybe just have a bit of peace and quiet, because obviously it would be very hustle and bustle in the next room. And I think we have a toilet through here, I believe, for the guests to use. That's the prince on the toilet. Through here we have another salon. Basic again, but obviously in time it'll all be furnished. Nice piano, just kind of chairs people to sit on. And I believe through here it's to the Queen's staircase, which it is. I've already shown you the Queen's apartments, but we're going to take a look at her private apartment. So we're going to walk through it, and in we are. This is obviously a vast change from the King's rooms, because the Queen's rooms are slightly grander, aren't they, in appearance. Through here, I think we just have the Queen's private staircase that leads up to her private rooms upstairs, and then downstairs are her bathrooms, things like that. And then obviously when you come back into this room again, you go back through this door, and it takes you to the first room of the Queen's private chambers. This is like a sitting room with a picture of Madame de Pompadour on the wall, very Rococo themed. These are supposed to be like Marie Antoinette's private cabinets at Versailles. I believe through here is her toilet. Yep, this is her toilet room. Through here we have the Queen's study, a lot more furnished than the King's rooms. Picture of Marie Antoinette in all of her glory on the wall there. A few tables and chairs, couple of sofas. You know, it's quite simple. Through here we have her library, the Queen's library. And it's not really like, she's got a gaming table there, she's got a few sitting chairs, some Baroque bookcases, and this is where you're entering the inner sanctum of the Queen, because you're getting to her most private rooms, such as her boudoir, where this is inspired from Versailles, the cabinet of the Meridian at Versailles. This is what this room is inspired off of. She's got a lovely fireplace with a picture of Victoria on there, a nice view into the courtyard and a view onto the street, so the Queen can look at the street out of her window. And there's a great big tree in the way, but you can still see either side into the street. Through here we have the Queen. She is actually cooking something at the moment. Yeah, this is just the Queen's private sitting room. She doesn't have a dining room like the King does, so she's got to go all the way to her state dining room to eat. Eventually that will make her a dining room. But yeah, this is her. She's got a lovely rococo dress on with a crown. I'll try and go around the front because she looks a lot like her sisters. Can't really see her that well. Don't know what she's smiling at, but anyway. Yeah, so that's that. We'll take I suppose we'll take a close look at the apartments of the Duke and Duchess of Parma, because we haven't really gone inside of there, and I'd like to show you it close up, and the garden close up, and we'll put it in build mode so we can have a bit of daylight, you know what I mean? So yeah, right, I'll show you the garden in a minute. So we start off, I'll just show you, start off in the hallway into the apartment. And, oh, we can't do it like that, okay. Well, we have to go into play mode, never mind. Right. Okay, there we are. So this is the entrance door to the Duke and Duchess of Parma's apartments. The first room is their dining room. I guess you're entering through the kind of private room. Through here we have their very small and basic kitchen, because this belongs to an aristocratic family, so it won't really be that, or you know, they won't have that much. Through here, you know, your basic bathroom and toilet room. Into the sitting room, the dining room, and then through here we have the bedroom of the Duke and Duchess of Parma. They sleep together, which is very unusual. In 18th century Europe, you know, most men and women who were couples didn't always sleep together. They always had their own separate apartments. Yeah, this is their bedroom. I've just got the update, and there was a new thing added, which is like a overhang, and I thought I might use it for the bed. And it kind of works with it, so that's good. And then on to the next room, we have the drawing room, which is a very simplistic room also. Nobody is in residence in these apartments. They're just used mostly for ceremonial use at the moment, until somebody actually, you know, occupies them. And through that door is what you just seen before, the private rooms. So we're going to take a look at the garden now, because it is the most fabulous Sims 4 garden you'll ever see. It's so luscious and flamboyant and, you know, all those things. So I just really want to show it, because it is very, very nice. It is going to be a bit daylight now. Actually, we'll just it looks better like this. So you know, you can see the palace. Hang on a minute. There we are. So you have the palace, the garden. Palace looks absolutely fabulous. You've got the garden here, and you know, as I say, you notice now I went for the Italianate sort of style and French, and also kind of just European in general, really. But yeah, I really hope you enjoyed this very long video. I know it's kind of been a bit boring, and you probably heard a bit of background noise because that's my neighbours making shouting and But you ignore that. I hope you enjoyed this video, and give us a thumbs up and give us a comment, and please don't make it a negative comment because I won't read it. Right, thank you. Bye.